Hi everyone, welcome to tonight's Tuesday night art chat. I'm Emily Gillespie. I'm an artist in Central Florida and I've been a maker for about a decade. One of my greatest passions is cheering on other creatives. These weekly art chats are a way for me to offer my thoughts, encouragement, and support. I'm so glad you're joining me. Thanks. Today we're going to talk about creative planning. In case you're under a rock, we're nearing the end of December and the end of the year, and it's time to start thinking ahead to what you want to accomplish in 2024. If you're really on top of things, hang on one second. There's a lot of dead space up there. I hope that's better. Okay. We're coming to the end of December and to the end of 2023, so it's time to start thinking about what we're going to do in 2024. If you're really on top of things, you might already be done with this by now, so good for you. If you haven't finished doing this, like me, that's okay. And if you haven't even started yet, it's not too late. You've still got time. Today's the 19th, so you've got like maybe 2 weeks still. I don't know. I'm an artist, not a mathematician. Either way, taking the time to come up with a plan for the year ahead is really going to help you get focused and stay on track. And it can prevent you from putting too much pressure on yourself. And we really want to avoid that because that's going to lead eventually down the road. That's going to lead to burnout and shutdown. And those things are definitely not going to help you move forward towards your goals. So the biggest thing you want to think about is how you want to structure your time. In this context, like beginning of the year planning, you can start with a larger overview and worry about the specifics later, like on a monthly basis, or you can start with a big picture of the whole year and work your way down to the months, weeks, or days and get into the really nitty-gritty details right away. This can be hard when you're a multi-passionate creative or if you're juggling a lot of things in your life. But planning ahead, it's actually going to force you to think about what your priorities are and help you focus in on those things instead of hopping around to a million different things that never get started, or rather that get started but never finished. And that's where I get tripped up to. Constantly. I'm sure my husband and my family would tell you I start a lot of things. I get excited about something new, and then after a month or a week or whatever, the novelty wears off and I realize that I have to actually do work on specific details and follow through, that is not my area of strength. It's something I'm working on and getting better on as I get older. And I guess it's good just to be aware of that. But definitely something I struggle with. So if you have a hard time with that as well, you're not alone. Let me just say right up front that I'm not the most organized person in the world. I get scatterbrained, I forget about details, I get caught up in little details when I should be thinking about the big picture, and vice versa. I don't do very well with executive functioning things, which if you don't know what that is, it's things like time management, attention span, staying focused, motivation, getting yourself going, getting yourself like moving toward a goal or a task. And over the years, I've kind of researched and found different things that have been helpful for me. Things like bullet journaling. I really enjoyed that as a concept, but starting with a blank page was it was kind of intimidating in a way, and like in the sense of just getting paralyzed by the blank page and indecision. And I'd find myself getting focused on like how I could design the page to make a perfect planning tool rather than actually getting done the things that I wanted to accomplish. So, I eventually abandoned that. It was too much, taking too much time. It was too much for me to keep up with. And when you have a list of a whole bunch of different things you want to accomplish, adding to that list by having to create your own calendar templates, it's just not very helpful. So I scrapped that idea. The last 2 years or so, I've been using just a basic weekly planner. It has like the monthly spread in front of each month, and I don't really use that a whole lot, but I really like having the 7-day spread on 2 pages. And that's helped me do better at keeping track of things that I have to do on my to-do list, but it doesn't help me plan ahead and visualize what I want to do next. It doesn't help me move forward toward my goals. So this year I'm trying something called a planner pad, and it just came in the mail today. I don't have it here now, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. It's not fancy, and it kind of does allow you to fill in what you want, and it has a lot of like blank spaces, so it can be utilized for all different kinds of things, but it's got a preset template, which is what I think is important. So I've heard good things about it. A lot of other artists that I know, maybe not a lot, 1 or 2, to be honest, they have used it for years and years and had success with it, so I'm going to give it a try. So over the years, I've kind of developed my own planning process, and each year I learn a little bit more about myself and what works and what doesn't. So what I'm going to talk about today, I'm not necessarily saying it's the best way, but it has been an evolution. So I'm just going to kind of talk about my experiences and what I'm trying this year. Before I get to my process, I also wanted to let you know about a couple artists that I follow who have created actual planning sheets, like worksheets. And I have downloaded both of those, and they have some very helpful questions. Again, with the executive functioning, I have a hard time coming back to it and following up and revisiting just to see if I'm on track with what my goals are. But both of these sheets they have a lot of good questions and give you things to think about as you're doing your planning. So Renee Mueller and Tara Lever are both artists who have created these planning worksheets. And Elin Lowe, I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name correctly. I'm sorry if I'm not. She also has a lot of resources and articles on her website that document her creative planning process. And of course, if you search Pinterest or Etsy, you'll find a ton of information there as well. After this live is over, I'm going to post the transcript of today's chat on my blog over at emilyjalewski.com. And in that blog post, I'll include links to some of these worksheets and resources that I've mentioned, maybe a couple others that I just wasn't thinking about as I'm talking. But I'll list all those there for you to go back and reference later if you want to. Like I said, I kind of tend to hop around to do different things. So I've kind of incorporated various aspects of all of those things into my own process and combined what works best. So without further ado, here is my process. So step one is just a brain dump. It's super simple. You can type it out on the computer if you want, or handwrite. Put it in your journal on a piece of scratch paper. It really doesn't matter. Just use it to get all the thoughts and ideas in your head, and just get them out onto paper. I find a lot of times that if I try and hold things in my head, I either get so focused on that I am not present in my day-to-day life, or if I try to be present in my life, then those other things that I want to try and remember will go poof and disappear. So I generally keep a running brain dump list, and just write things down as I think about them. But it can also be helpful to take specific time, set that aside, and in this context, just do a big brain dump and get down everything that you can think of in one place, even if you've already gotten it written down somewhere else. The day before you do this brain dump, and the day of, don't look at anyone else's stuff. Excuse me. Don't look at their social media. Don't look at their blog posts, their websites, their newsletters. Don't look at BuzzFeed, which I don't know if that's still a thing, but they always had those 10 tips to get ready for the next year, or dumb stuff like that. But you don't want to be influenced by other people when you're doing your brain dump. It should all come from your own head, and it should be things that you want to do. Don't add things to your list just because everyone else is doing it, or someone else, some influencer is doing something and you think, oh, maybe that's a good idea. I should add that to my list and think about how I can incorporate it into my own process, my own planning. That kind of attitude, that thought process is just never going to go the way you think it will. It's never going to pan out because it's not something that you're passionate about. It's not authentic to you. So you're not going to have the same drive and desire and motivation to get that thing done. What you really want to do is focus on the things that are important to you, that you're passionate about. So after you've come up with this list, take a break for a day or so. Set it aside. Try not to think about it. I mean, if you think of more things to add, go ahead and jot them down. That's fine. But just kind of give your brain a day or two to take a mental break, and to let your subconscious reflect on those things, and just kind of sit in the back of your head and process it, basically. So after a day or so, when you are doing other things, come back to your list and think about the things that you've written down. Think again if they're something you really want to do. If they are, think about where it fits in your timeline. Is it like a very long-term goal, or something that is going to be helpful in the short term? If it's something that's maybe longer term and a bucket list item, or a pie in the sky, someday I'd love to do this and this and this, whatever. You don't have to necessarily try and reach that this year. You don't have to include it in your plans. It's okay to put that off. Definitely keep it in your list and on your mind, as like a very long-term kind of thing to strive for. But don't stress yourself out over trying to reach something that you are not ready for. For example, I would eventually like to offer print of my work, but that's not something I'm going to focus on this year. I have other ways that I can spend my time and my energy to advance my audience, to grow my business. And at this point, to be honest, I don't think there's a market for people that really want prints of my work right now. So it just doesn't make sense for me to put a lot of time into researching that, the things that go into that process, or to invest in the equipment for it. It's not something I'm choosing to worry about for this year. Step 2 is a spreadsheet. I don't know about you, but I'm a spreadsheet girl. I like to use Excel or Google Sheets when I can. I have been known to just come up with reasons to make a spreadsheet when I don't really need to. So if you are not that comfortable with that kind of technology, or if you're an old-fashioned person, which in many things I'm old-fashioned too. That's why I have a paper planner. I don't use any digital calendars or anything. So if you wanted, you could write this out on paper, but for this stage, I like to be able to copy and paste things and move them around easily. So that's just what works for me. I try to be very aware of what I'm committing myself to. So this year, I've only allowed myself like maybe 3 larger tasks for each month, because I know that each one of those larger tasks has multiple steps to accomplish it, and overloading myself with a whole bunch of different things, it's not going to be productive or constructive, and it's just going to stress me out, and that will stress out my family, and then none of us are happy. We don't want that. So I limit myself to 3, and if I can keep up with that or even get ahead, that's awesome. But if I struggle with those couple things, I can always maybe have a little extra time or move the next few tasks or months around. There's always an option to give yourself a little bit of a cushion. So that's what I really try and think of and make extra accommodations for myself. So after and I forgot to tell you about my spreadsheet. I'll include this in my blog post as well, but it's basically just, it's really simple. There's no crazy formulas or anything. It's just a column for each thing in my life, like art, or family, household stuff, my actual day-to-day 9-to-5 job. So there's a column for each one of those things, and then a row for each month of the year. And then in each cell, where they intersect, I'll just make notes of these things that I want to accomplish, just like the very basic goal in just a simple sentence. After I'm done with that, I'll try and step away, take another break. It can, depending on your personality, because yourself, like how much time you need to reset. You could maybe come back to it later in the day or the next day, or take a couple days, whatever works best for you. So we're going to take a break and then come back for step 3, which are breaking down the action steps. So come back and review your notes and think about all the things you've got written down and see if it all still sounds doable. Like when you make sure that when you were writing all this down, you weren't like maybe being over optimistic, because I fall into that trap too. If you think it's going to be a struggle to get those things done, now's the time to shift stuff around. I try and keep 3 things to a month, but you might want to make it 2 or even 4. It really just depends on you and what you have going on in your life and your other responsibilities. So when you're ready, I want you to take another piece of paper, or I make a new tab in my Excel sheet for each task. And for each thing you want to accomplish, write down every possible step you can think of for each larger task. Even if you think it's redundant or silly or, just implied, like you should know, that's the next thing, or, there's something that falls between 2 different steps, write that down anyway, because you want to account for every little thing that you need to do. For me, sometimes if I'm getting caught up in the swing of something, I might miss a step. So I just like to document everything, and if it's redundant or extra, then when it comes to that step, that's just something I get to cross off. And we all know that crossing stuff off your list is a great feeling. So after you've done that, take a break, take a walk, take a nap, have some water, whatever you want to do. Come back in a few hours. And then that brings us to step number 4, which is the calendar. So at this point, if you still feel good about everything you've gotten down so far, it's time to move it to your actual calendar or your planner or whatever you're going to use for the year. And all the information that's on your planning sheet, your spreadsheet, it's going to be the same. You're just going to transfer it over to your actual calendar. But I find that this allows me to look at the same information in a different way. It allows me to compare it to other things that are already on my calendar, like school schedules, vacations, maybe other things that can't be changed, a work deadline, whatever it might be, whatever is relevant in your life. But this gives you one more opportunity to shift stuff around before you really get it finalized. And of course, all of this, it needs to be said, all of this that you're getting down, it's movable. It's not set in stone. You 100% can change it. Life happens. Sometimes things take longer than you expect or what you've planned for. And, we can even flip it around and look at it the opposite way. We can be optimistic and say that you're going to be a rock star and just move right through all those things on your list really fast, and get it done faster than you think. So in that case, you could shift stuff up, and then you'll be ahead of the game. So in either case, I always like to either use a pencil for planning in my calendar, or just keep some whiteout or correction tape handy, because stuff is always going to change, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So if you are still working on planning out your 2024, don't forget to run over and see my blog post later at emilyjalewski.com. I'll have the transcript posted there later and some of those resources that I mentioned earlier. You can also join my mailing list to make sure that you're one of the first people to know about upcoming art collections, and studio news, and inspiration. If you go to my website and scroll all the way down to the bottom, it's not that far. But at the very bottom of the page, there's a sign up form. All you have to do is put in your email address and hit OK, and that's it. I think you might have to confirm an email, just as their redundancy or double check. That's MailChimp has that as a setting, I think. But if you just put in your email and hit OK, you'll either get a confirmation or it'll tell you, click here to confirm. But if you subscribe, like I said, you'll get monthly inspiration. There's behind the scenes info on what I'm doing in the studio. And this next year, I'm even going to start giving my subscribers early access to collections before I release them to the public. So I hope this has been helpful for you guys. I think we're just going to navigate this together, because this is, like I said before, it's not a strong suit of mine. So I'm kind of making this up as I go along. But hopefully I've given you some good things to think about. I hope you guys all have a great week and a very Merry Christmas. Enjoy the time with your family and your friends, and celebrate lots, and eat too much food. And I will see you guys back here next week. Bye.
Pretty good.
Thank you.